Call to order the Ashland Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, January 26, 2023. We'll start with the invocation by Commissioner Goot and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we come inviting your Holy Spirit into our meeting today. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our city. We ask for your favor and blessing upon this Board of Mayor and Commissioners as we ask for your guidance and discernment as we work together to make Ashland the best it could be. Bless us with wise decisions in the best interest of our community and its citizens. Bless our city manager, our staff and employees, and those in attendance today, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Let us stand and salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Wertz. Do we have a motion to receive and file the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We've got a couple things on the docket. First off, I want to welcome everybody to our meeting. Just want to get a little bit of business out of the way that we did not take care of at the last board meeting, and it's the election of our mayor pro tem. So, as is custom for our board, typically the top of the list on the election is usually the standard nominee for the mayor pro tem. So that being Commissioner Blanton, do we have any motion for Commissioner Blanton to be the mayor pro tem?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'd just like to say real quick, appreciate that from the fellow commissioners and mayor. One thing I really noted was the votes for all four of us. I think it was a statement by our citizens that they liked what they saw in the previous 2 years, and that came with working together as a team. It really did. And, people that are, don't always agree, and that's good. Constructive disagreement is great in most teams. So just want to say it's an honor to work with you all. But I think that was a clear statement from our citizens, and I just wanted to point out, there was a clear message there. So thank you all.
Well, I appreciate those comments. I also share in my appreciation for you, Commissioner Blanton, but also to the rest of our board. I am honored to be with professionals who take the business of our city seriously, so thank you to all of you. Really quickly, if I could start today, Commissioners, somebody brought me a Red Bull, and I don't know who it was, but I want to thank them. I have been quite busy. Yesterday evening, 10 p.m., I was a volunteer for the Shelter of Hope for the K count, which is the point-in-time count for our homeless in our community. As you know, we do have a task force with the Commission's blessing to look at ways that we can improve the housing opportunities for those that are unhoused. I want to particularly thank one of our city employees who just happened to show up because they also were concerned and wanted to help, Jason Melvin. He and I ended up driving around Ashland last night till about 2 a.m., and we were in places that I haven't seen before as mayor, and it was humbling, to say the least. We alone, there was 3 groups of us, I was able, with Jason, to locate about 21 unhoused citizens. And it's tough to see those folks on the streets, and we tried to get some resources to them if we could, if they wanted them. But one thing stood out to me, Commission: mental health is needing to be addressed in this country, not just in this city. We have a huge concern with people that may not be addicted, but don't have the resources to receive the health care that they need specifically to mental health. I will continue to advocate on their behalf for the rest of my life. So with that, I also want to mention we do have some agencies that support those folks, and they are CARES, they're our friends at the mission, multiple missions actually, and there's some good news. The governor has announced that at 2:30 on Monday at the Highlands Museum, they will be talking to some agencies that support our community better than anybody I know. And I think it's going to be a good day for all those agencies that are invited. So if you all have an opportunity to attend, it's 2:30 Monday at the Highlands Museum. With that, I turn it over to my commission. I'll start with Commissioner Goot.
Just want to welcome everybody today. It's just been a busy couple of weeks. I just have I was asked to be a judge at the Gravy Bowl. Imagine that. And it's in a couple of weeks, and I just want to thank you for your invitation, Commissioner Spriggs. And that's all I have. Welcome.
Okay. Commissioner Spriggs.
Yeah, that we're back again, and we're at the Transportation Center again, and so we're looking for a big crowd down there. Got all kinds of people coming, including Ashland's Fire Department. It's going to be over there cooking. If you want to be a judge, get in touch with me. It's fun. You get to taste all the things free. So, but yeah, come on over. It starts at 10, and prices are cheap. Fun is cheap. And Commissioner Clark may mention that too. We have bands and all kinds of good things. So it's the 11th of February, starting at 10 o'clock.
Great. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Clark?
Just a couple of things. Before our next meeting, I see Kim Jenkins sitting in the audience from the Highlands Museum and Discovery Center, and their big fundraiser is coming up on the 3rd every time, on the 4th of February, Dancing with Our Stars. You can see our own Commissioner Blanton and his wife, Cecia, dance in that. Are you emceeing as well?
We are
So we'll be
co-emceeing.
back again this year as the co-MCs and
Regis
bumbling
and
our way
Kathy-
through
Regis
that.
and Kathy Lee.
We'll see how that goes. The only other thing, Commissioner Spriggs, I'll mention, you can go to you can go to visitashland.com to buy your tickets to Gravy Bowl, and you can get them there. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Blanton.
Yep, just a couple notes about some nonprofit organizations I help represent. The United Way, I want to say a huge thank you to Jerry Compton, who is departing as executive director. Anybody that knows Jerry, she becomes a friend pretty much as soon as you meet her, and she's just a wonderful human being who's done some great work there, and we appreciate her and love her. Marshall Tyson we'd like to congratulate him on taking over as executive director, and wish him the best of luck, and look forward to him leading that very important nonprofit in our city. Highlands. So the Highlands had also an event after our Martin Luther King Jr. Day event at the train station. The Highlands had an event. And I'm not sure if they'd done that one there at the Highlands before, but it was incredibly successul. There were literally, just from the time that I was there, watching people and kids come in and out, hundreds of people in and out. And that's just part of what Kim and her staff are doing there. It's pretty amazing. Much to my chagrin, Dancing with Our Stars is completely sold out as of today. So, just kidding. You all have done a great job with that. Thank you to all the sponsors, everybody that makes that incredibly successful, because it is very important to the museum. Just one last note. We did our strategic plan last week, and I just want to say thanks to the staff. Thanks to you all that were there and giving your input. And thanks to everybody up here that spent the day really being constructive and doing something. It takes buy-in from everybody, right? And that's, we talk a lot about being a team, and it's a great way for that cities around the country and companies and lots of organizations it's a great tool that they've used to go to the next level. I think we're a city that's in good shape in a lot of different ways, and we want to go to the next level. So I think it's a good way to start that. Thank you.
Mayor, I have one more thing. I'm sorry. I forgot all about it. Tourism Board meeting yesterday. We had a conversation about the wayfinding signs and just a question about where we stood on those and if we're moving forward. So I guess that's a question for you, Manager.
We don't have anything solid right now on the
Okay.
wayfinding sign. And Steve is not here today. He and Mark are down in Lexington for a utility or a lead pipe meeting with the state. I think, that sounded bad.
Yeah, lead piping.
Distribution, sorry. My last data point is that we were going to include that as part of the engineering, and I haven't followed up on that, so I need to follow up
Okay.
and see if that's in fact correct or not.
Okay, I just would like to get some things in place before.
I'll do it.
I know it's part of the engineer, streetscape and all that sort of stuff, but for the ones that maybe aren't affected in that area, to get those in the works.
I'll have something for you by the next meeting.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
All right. Anyone else? City manager?
The only thing I wanted to highlight, Mayor, was I wanted to give kudos to Steve Cole and Erica Bonner. They did get the community funding project request submitted to Representative Hal Rogers. We're requesting $7 million for, to be applied to the wastewater treatment plant. So thanks for the staff work on that. It was due on the 31st, and it was turned in this morning. Mentioned we've got a couple staff that are out of town right now on business, and that's really all I had this morning.
All right. We're going to move on to public participation. Anyone with a comment or request may come to the podium, address this commission concerning matters related to city business, services, or personnel. Comments related to election issues or concerning personal disputes will not be allowed. If we can, let's keep our presentations to 5 minutes, and only one speaker is permitted per subject. No action will be taken at this meeting. Those with comments are asked to fill out the inquiry form and leave it with the city clerk for distribution to the proper city department. Anyone would like to come forward at this time? Kim?
Good afternoon. I was already introduced as the director of the Highlands Museum, and in the vein of Commissioner Goot's invocation about all of us helping to make the city be the best that she can be, I wanted to just share some of the great things that are happening at the Highlands. We've had several huge events on the 4th floor in the Highlands Center, and we are grateful for the partnership with the city to allow us to rent that parking garage, because that helps immensely. We do have 3 new events that we've initiated. Commissioner Blanton already referenced the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Kids are out of school that day. Museums all over the country are open on their typical Monday day off to welcome those kids in to learn about the life and legacy of Dr. King. And we did have over 200 people come in that day. It was a huge success. We also celebrated New Year's Noon back on December 31st. That's also something that's done all over the country. And we celebrated with a 300 balloon drop off the mezzanine, and the kids went wild. It was huge, and we will certainly continue with these events. The other thing that we initiated was the first annual Kentucky Chautauqua series, sponsored by the Kentucky Humanities, and that's been amazing. And we have 2 left, one in February, one in March. We'll be celebrating Black History Month. In February, we'll be celebrating Women's History Month in March. Want to let you all know that our after-school program is thriving. We started off for the first time with 3 schools last year, and we're up to 7 this year, and actively inviting more schools to participate. School tour season is upon us, and we have got kids from all over the tri-state that come. Favorite thing I saw last year that it really applies to you all is Rock Hill brought, I think, 160 kids, and they had their tour and their pizza party and their workshop, played in the Discovery Center, and then they left and they went to the new inclusive playground at Central Park.
Wow.
And I drove by there and took a picture of all their Red Rock Hill t-shirts swarming that playground, and it was tremendous. And of course, we're making wonderful progress on our all-new state-of-the-art Clark Family Discovery Center that's going to open in September. And y'all were up there last week, and you can see our progress, and I'm grateful for that, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Kim, and
Kim.
thank you for your continued service on our Parks Board, and I think we have another appointment for you today as well on the agenda. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business.
Item A, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 3008 Railroad Street in the amount of $3,900 for the Department of Community and Economic Development."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Bobby's Mulch for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1233 Gallagher Drive in the amount of $3,895 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and improving change order number 1, final adjusting between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Southern Ohio Trenching and Excavating, Inc., decreasing the amount of the contract for the waterline replacement project Phase 2, Belmont Street, in the amount of $203,979.37 for the Department of Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Let's say
Oh,
decreasing?
yeah, decreasing, that's
good.
right.
Yeah.
Music to your ears.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and approving change order number 2 between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Wolf Creek Contracting, decreasing the amount of the contract for the Pollard Mills Infrastructure Project Phase 2 in the amount of $11,758.11 for the Department of Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement for technical services between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Strand Associates, Inc. for preparation of the annual 2022 combined sewer overflow reports in the amount of $16,000 for the Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. How
Item
many,
F-
how many more studies are we gonna have on the CSO? Mr. City Manager?
On the
is this-
CSO.
I mean, yeah, CSO, combined sewer overflow. It's another $16,000, so how,
This is for the
This is for
report.
the combined sewer overflow report. This is an
Yeah,
annual, this is a
CSO.
separate annual report that is required to be done until we come out from under the CSO.
Consent decree.
yeah, I know yeah, I know. So are we going to, I think we spoke about this a little bit before, or maybe this is a little off topic, try to get an extension on that sewer plant up there?
An
On the
extension to
den-
the consent decree?
No, yeah.
No, we've not attempted that.
Well, do you think that might be prudent since the cost of materials is so high right now? You know, I don't know when we're going to do it, but it might be worth looking into.
If that's a decision the board would like me to do, we can look into it.
I think it's a worthwhile thing.
Think so?
See if it's even a possibility.
Yeah, I
Well,
think we
I
should.
I definitely think it's something we should consider, knowing that these costs are so great right now, especially in related to construction. We see it in food, but we see it in construction too. Does anybody have any other thoughts on that? Okay.
It can't hurt. I mean, it's so, like we said, money, too much expensive stuff.
Do we need to,
You all want to put that in the form of a motion, or is it just a
I think it's just an
discussion?
informational thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I don't think
okay.
we need that.
okay, all right.
Item F, second reading and final adoption.
Did we
Uh,
vote?
Yes, you all voted on item E. Yeah,
Yeah, that was in between, so sorry.
you're good. Item F, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting and enacting supplements S 82, S 83, S 84, and S 85 to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Ashland.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda, resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of January 26, 2023.
Mayor, I'd just like to make a motion, if we could just separate number 2 from the consent agenda, I'd just make a motion for that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
What I recommend at this point is if you all are considering approving the consent agenda as amended, just maybe make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda with that item 2.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, the amended consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
And then if you all would like to make any motions with respect to
The item pulled?
the item pulled, and I'll just read what the item pulled was. Item number 2, city manager recommends approval to award the bid dated December 29th, 2022 in the amount of $808,111 for the AK Steel Sports Park lighting project to Knight Electric, Inc. for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Hearing none, motion fails. So do we have a discussion then, will we have a discussion then later at the end of this agenda
Want
to,
to discuss it now or later?
Well, one option you would have is if there is any motion to be made in any other, fashion of that, you could go ahead and take that up now.
I think it's appropriate, we can take that up now since it's right on our tips of our tongues. We have a motion to discuss this item?
Do we need a motion to discuss something?
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
need,
know
you need to get it before discussion in some way, either a motion to approve in some fashion, or, some type of motion to get it in front of you all.
Okay, well, wait a minute. Explain to me, if we just made a motion and passed it to just remove that from the consent agenda, why do,
The discussion normally comes after the second, and so
I
that's
know,
all.
I know, but didn't we vote?
It failed for lack of motion to
Right,
vote on
okay,
it.
so all we did was do that. Do we need to discuss?
The way.
There was
I
no
remember
discussion.
This happened, when something else has died, it is brought up in new business just as.
New
to talk about.
business,
So
yeah.
I think there's an opportunity there if there's something else to talk about for the future.
Yeah.
which is why I said, do we want to bring this up at the end with new
Well,
business?
isn't it in here again?
It is.
Okay,
There we go.
yeah.
Okay, very good. All right.
So we gonna discuss it during the new business?
It's
It's
an
a new
item.
business, yeah.
It is an item.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. After that clarification, anybody else? Okay. I think we're on to new business.
Item A, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement with Safe Harbor of Northeast Kentucky, Inc., the subrecipient of $20,000 for operating costs from the 2022 Program Year Community Development Block Grant."
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item B, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement with Safe Harbor of Northeast Kentucky, Inc., the subrecipient of $30,044.21 for the employment education case management from the 2022 Program Year Community Development Block Grant."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement with Community Assistance Referral Service, Inc., CARES, the subrecipient of $49,186 from the 2022 Program Year Community Development Block Grant."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question, and more of a clarification than anything. Do we get any sort of annual report from these recipients? Is that part of the CARE, or the HUD reporting, the CDBG reporting?
They give us like how many people they've helped, and then every year when we do the application process, we'll give you like an audit.
I hate to ask for more information to be passed over to us, but when that report is submitted, if you could pass that on, can we maybe?
that-
I'd like to see how many people CARES is helping. What metrics were measured to determine that they're helping, and were they successful?
I think
Jacob
that's a
and
good
Chris,
idea.
isn't that covered in the end-of-year report, or is it not that level of detail?
Is it? Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. Thank you.
Item D, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the revised job description for the position of Secretary 1/2 in the Department of General Government, Division of Mayor and Commissioners, and the Department of Risk Management of the Policies and Procedures Compensation Plan and Classification Plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017, as previously amended."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the revised job description for the position of Administrative Clerk in the Department of Parks and Recreation of the Policies and Procedures Compensation Plan and Classification Plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017, as previously amended."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the job description for the position of Administrative Assistant as a replacement for the position of Receptionist in the Department of Community and Economic Development, and amending the authorized positions of the Policies and Procedures Compensation and Classification Plan as adopted by ordinance number 51, series of 2017, as previously amended."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item G, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an amendment to the Employee Assistance Program Management Agreement between the City of Ashland and the Ashland Hospital Corporation, DBA King's Daughters Medical Center, adopted by ordinance number 190, series of 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Knight Electric, Inc. in the amount of $808,111 for the AK Steel Sports Park lighting project for the Department of Parks and Recreation." And this would relate back to the item number 2 on the consent agenda, where that bid was not awarded.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Well, I'm going to step away from the chair and second the motion to discuss. So if we can, let's talk about this a little bit. What are we thinking here as far as lighting for our ball fields?
Well,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I have a couple of thoughts. When this was first brought up, and I know Commissioner Spriggs brought up lighting the walking path at AK, which is not included in this proposal at all as far, right? Correct?
You'll get residual light from those facilities, but not
But
specifically.
we're not specifically lighting the path that people use to walk.
Correct.
And when we talked about it, the cost that was sort of thrown out there what did we budget, $150,000? 180? What?
150.
150, budgeted $150,000. So here we're sitting at $808,000, and I've got a lot of concerns about that.
Sure.
I think maybe we need a measured approach. I just am not comfortable committing $808,000 to this project all at once.
So I agree with what Commissioner Clark's saying, and we've not seen a plan, a design. $808,000 is really exorbitant, especially in these days with uncertainty and some inflation and things going on, and the cost, again, of equipment. Maybe it would be better if we look at it on a one-by-one basis of doing these fields, and maybe not trying to do them. I'm just not for spending $808,000.
Sure. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to step back a little bit. So 2021, 2022, I think was a fantastic example of a group of commissioners led by a mayor working with our staff to come up with projects on the same page, everybody on the same page, that were absolutely generational improvements for our citizens. It was the best case that I've seen, honestly. I don't feel like this project, as it is at that number, falls in line with that. I thought that the discussion we had at the end of December we were talking about splash pad, and we stepped back and we said, hey, we've done a lot with the parks, and it'd be a great idea for us to say, we need a strategic plan. We need to look forward. We need to look more into the future, and not just individual projects. I thought that was a great step for us to take there. I think we need to stay on that course.
Yeah.
And I would have to think that $800,000 is a big chunk of what would start that strategic plan for the next few years. Financially, how that fits in with our overall financial picture, I'm restrained from comparing this to things in the private world, the business world, because we're working for citizens, right? We're not working for shareholders and people like that. So I've kind of stopped making those parallels, because these are quality of life things. But I do know the citizens that I've talked to, and I've tried to talk to as many as I could to get their idea, and I throw out that number, and more than half of them have laughed immediately, thinking that that would be a number we would, because we don't know the justification. Now, if there were obviously 3 or 4 tournaments that Ashland would get because we would make this investment, it's a different story we talk about. I don't know what the only thing that I've heard concrete is maybe Ashland Middle School could definitely use the soccer field. Okay, then maybe we look at the soccer field. But to me, I don't think I'm being a good steward of our taxpayers' dollar approving $800,000 for lighting at a park that I don't understand the justification. That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Good?
Well, I respectfully disagree with all of you, and that's okay. I go back to the history of this, and I got feedback from both athletic directors, the high school and middle school yesterday, and they'd like to see this happen, and also Little League representatives. And then I got a letter from Matt Anderson from the Health Department, and I want to read it. First, allow me to thank all of you, along with our mayor and city manager, for an excellent job you've all done and are doing for our city. The progress has been swift and evident. As a lifelong Ashlandler, I appreciate the vision toward the future and the dedication you all have shown growing opportunities and experience in our city. I write to you to express my desire to see lights installed at AK Sports Park. I believe this single decision captures a much broader scope than many realize. It's not just about baseball, and I hope to shed light on the cascading impacts I believe are possible. First and most obviously, approval of these lights will allow the baseball team at Ashland Middle School to offer a wider variety of practice and game time to its students. Typically, practices begin at 4:30 and last until dark. With the season beginning in late February, the lack of lighting forces earlier practices, which creates many transportation challenges for working parents. Lights would allow practices to begin and end later. Middle school games consist of 2 doubleheaders, 5-inning games, all of them lasting past sunset. The lack of lighting forces the middle school to hope for field availability at Blazer or Central Park, or play the majority of their games on the road. This creates transportation challenges for the whole school district. Rising fuel costs, the lack of buses and drivers only compounds this. We can all agree on the benefits on exercise. An investment of this type allows our kids to create and maintain healthy habits close to home. Young athletes are better served when they are around their teammates and coaches and off their phones and video games. The benefits don't stop at just exercise and convenience. I know you have heard about the need for a multi-field sports park in Ashland and the economic benefits that are possible. While this property is not large enough for that, I do think new lights will attract games, crowds, and even small tournaments. As a travel baseball parent, I can attest to the thousands of dollars we spent last summer traveling between Valley Park and Hurricane, Stanton City Park in Stanton, Kentucky, North Laurel Little League in LaGrange, and the Grayson Sports Park in Grayson, Kentucky. Everyone on these sites were packed from early in the morning until late in the evening. These tournaments typically include hours between games where families ventured into town to buy gas and food, not to mention those who chose to stay in a hotel or Airbnb. A lighted field provides the opportunity to host small tournaments for our middle school team and players in the Ashland Senior League. With many teams and options for players and their families, leagues are fighting to stay alive. Between Ashland Little League, Ashland Senior League, Cal Ripken, and Boyd County, and many local travel teams like the Kentucky Steelers, the Grayson Backcats, the Charleston Knuckleheads, and the Huntington Hounds, it is important to keep our boys playing in Ashland for Ashland. Our high school program will soon find a resurgence under new coach Shane Marucci and a crop of talented middle schoolers, most of whom were on the Ashland 12U All-Stars, who finished last season one game shy of playing for a state championship. The approval of these lights would also provide a level of security not currently available at the back of the park. With this field being away from the road, dark and secluded, there can be safety issues. Many residents use the walking trail at all times of the day. A well-lit field would provide a level of security to all Ashland residents that currently use the park. As a commission, your commitment to our city parks is second to none. The upgrades have meant so much to me on a personal level. I can't tell you how much my family and I have enjoyed the playground updates around the city. I believe this is the next necessary step to allow our students and families to flourish here, to grow opportunity, and to create a place our younger generations will want to call home. Show our young teenagers their needs matter to this commission. If we as a community provide and nurture their needs as young people, we will all reap the benefits for future generations to come. I believe and trust that you are a commission that has done and will continue to do that. Much appreciation and respect for me for all you do each day. Sincerely, Matt Anderson, Director of the Boyd County Health Department. This is a quality of life issue that we face there, and it will either improve the quality of life for a great number of people in our city or keep us stuck in the status quo. Athletics, being on a team of your peers, shape your life and build lasting friendships and relationships and memories. One of the greatest memories I have is my dad taking me to the arcade at Richie's Key Shop and buying my first baseball glove when I was 8 years old. The funniest memory I ever had in Central Park was I was playing a Babe Ruth baseball game, and one of my chubbier teammates, we liked two things. We liked to play and we liked to eat. And we were playing. I knew he could hit the ball to the street, and one day he hit it to the street, but he had a hard time getting up first base. It took him an hour and a half to get up first base. He ran up first base and tripped over the first base bag and fell down tragically, and his hat fell off and a McDonald's cheeseburger rolled out. The game was delayed, but not because of rain. It was so the umpires could regain their composure. That's just a few of the memories I have around our parks. First of all, I want to mention this. When you get on our website, like I did this morning, there's a couple things that need to be tweaked. And this is for you, City Manager, Parks, and Erica. When I look on Central Park, it says regulation horseshoe courts, 10. Concession stands, 2. Well, they no longer exist. When I go over here, it's Southside Park is located on Ballard Street on the property that was once Southside Pool. It has regulation softball field with the state-of-the-art lighting. Restrooms are currently under construction, because you can see this was way back and needs to be tweaked. But we all have a historic opportunity to restore the park, or our baseball fields like it was. And I want to say, we have lost several lighted baseball fields in the last 60 years. Now, we're making great strides in a lot of stuff, but we've lost a lot of stuff too. And I want to make mention of what we've lost. Number one, back in the 60s, I played and coached at all these fields. 6th Street Ball Field, where Texas Roadhouse sits, and all the business property back there. 6th Street, there was 2 lighted fields, a Little League field and a Babe Ruth field, which no longer exist. Hatcher School Ball Field, Charles Russell School Ball Field, Oakview Road Ball Fields, 2 of them, where Woodland Oaks sits right now. Both lighted ball fields. In the park, 22nd Street Ball Field, 17th Street Ball Field, CP1, the Ballard Ball Field, where the pond is right now. That's where we played baseball. Also, watch nightly men's and women's softball leagues at the field between CP1 and the tennis courts. Every night there was ball games going, men and women's softball, slow pitch and fast pitch, which are no longer there. And we repurposed the lights for that field where the dog park sits right now. Oliverio Park, the waterwork ball fields, both baseball and softball now are lighted way up until October when the fall league, way into where the fall leagues begin. Southside ball field that had nightly men's softball leagues are no more. It's the dog park, and that's where the lights are at. The city was gifted the H Sports Park in 2003, from what I understand. Andrew Wheeler and Corey Maddox played their first ball game ever at 8K Park in 2000,
Everybody write that
23 years ago. And both Little League and travel balls are unable to play or host games or tournaments because they don't have lights. We lost our men's softball league here in Ashland, Kentucky, and they're over in Ironton now beside the sewer plant because Ironton affords them a lighted ball field. Now, I thought it was the allure of the Auger Inn or the five-star business, the T&H Grill, which was affectionately known as the Tug and Hug back in the day. I thought it was that, but they were allotted a lighted ball field. Not to mention our soccer kids that are very limited in the same way I mentioned. The answer to this problem and deficiency of all these ball fields can be remedied. Get the lights. We didn't do the splash pad, $350,000 approximately. We were allotted $150,000 for lights, and in the capital projects meeting, we talked about rolling that money over for the lights. That's $500,000 that was allotted for a splash pad that we're no longer doing, and we allotted $150,000 for lights. Now, why do we do that? Why do we even put that in the budget and say we're going to do it, and the public sees this, and we don't do it? We have $500,000 that we could roll over there. It's okay with finance. City manager says we have the money. All we need is you're okay.
I have a couple comments. One, the Capital Projects Committee is not a function of the commission, and the decisions aren't made there, they're made here.
And let me clarify, that was only for discussion.
I agree, that's what I'm saying. It's not a, we decided this in the Capital Projects Committee,
No,
because
I'm not
this is
saying
the
we
group that
decided. I
decides
said
it.
it was advised.
However, Commissioner, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, and Matt Anderson's letter is spot on. Athletics are important. Those fields are important. I will tell you, as a travel sport, into different sport parent, we need a lot more in order to make those travel fields. The ball field is not regulation Babe Ruth size. The soccer field needs to be resurfaced. There's a lot more to making that a place where tournaments can happen beyond simply putting up lights. So there's a whole other cost component there. My biggest issue with this is, even according to your comments and to Mr. Anderson's letter, what I heard consistently was Ashland Middle School, Ashland Middle School, Ashland Middle School. Have we approached Ashland Independent Schools if they want to participate with us on this, since clearly they're the ones that are going to benefit from an $800,000 investment on the part of the city?
Yeah, and, well,
I don't
You're
think,
asking me
I don't
that
think it's.
question.
No, I'm just
I
asking
mean,
if
it's
anyone
our
has
park.
talked
It's
to
our
you.
park.
It is our park.
Okay.
It's our park. I mean, the taxpayers have
Sure.
entrusted us with the money. We have the money. We allotted the money for a splash pad. We allotted the money for lights, $150,000 of it. Can we not use $150,000 that we allotted back in July?
Let me say that. I'm all for lighting those fields. In fact, Commissioner Good, I'm the one that brought you the idea. We need to light those fields
Right.
over there. When we were over there at the, at our
Skate
skate park.
Skate park. You know,
Yeah.
those people didn't want that skate park.
Yeah, well,
They said it was
anyway,
frivolous.
what happens here, and I'm all,
$134,000.
I'm all for $150,000 is a far cry from 880, okay? Now, I'm all for rolling over this money, this 300 and, or what is it, 356, 365 for the splash pad? I'm all for rolling over that money, but that's not the way this reads. This reads, we do all of it right now.
But they gave you an option before the meeting that we could do it we could do it several different ways because it was bid in three different parcels. We could do
But
two
that's
of
not
them.
what it says on here that we're
Well,
not voting
if-
on.
we
That's-
could discuss
and
this.
it failed. Let's be clear, that motion did fail, so it does provide us with other opportunities to
Yes.
bring up. And I think we haven't heard, did you have something you
Just
wanted
one,
to
real
say?
quick, because I appreciate Matt Anderson's letter, and I appreciate him
Yeah,
taking the
I
time to
do
do
too.
that. I'll just point out, because I haven't heard mention yet of what we did do, because I don't know the dollar number off the top of my head, but I think every ball field just about in Central Park, Oliverio, AK Sports Park, we changed fences, we did field renovations, we did literally millions of dollars in field upgrades.
Millions.
That, probably more in 1 year than had been done in the history of those fields, probably. So there's already been a large investment in those parks, those fields specifically throughout the city by this commission. My overall thing here is, I don't disagree with, maybe the attracting travel teams, maybe going down that road. Listen, it's in my neighborhood. I run on, well, the occasional times that I actually run, I run on that trail. My boys will use that field likely when they grow up. I mean, I'm going to have kids who would use this
Spend a
place.
lot
So
of
it's,
time there.
when I was a little kid, I grew up on Gartrell. My dad lived on Gartrell. We ran over, they didn't know we were gone, but we'd run over there and play. I was young enough, I did that. It means something, and I appreciate the passion and where we're coming from here. I'm just saying, I know that we do well when we have a strategy going after something. And if there's an overall strategy, this is where we want to go with our park strategy that we talked about in December, then let's put it together, let's go after it as one team. And that's the way you get generational things done.
It's in front of you. The strategy is in front of you.
The strategy in front of us is $800,000 for lights at AK Sports Park.
Exactly. Part of the parks, part of their ongoing plan for the year.
The parks has not given us a strategy plan yet.
They sure have. They have a plan. We put it together during the budget session.
The strategic
Lights
plan
were
we
part
talked
of-
about in December has been given to us?
The lights were put on the budget in July.
That wasn't the
It's
strategic
part of the
plan we talked
plan.
about in December. This just happened in December. We
We
just
were
talked
talking about a
this.
comprehensive
Commissioner.
plan for the parks.
Commissioners, the good thing is we are very close to receiving that plan. Very
Oh,
close.
okay.
March.
And I beg the commission to consider delaying this decision at least until we have the strategic plan in place from the Parks Department, so that if there is any question at that time that it's not a part of the plan, then we can address it then. But Commissioner Good, I will say this. Nobody's a bigger advocate for the parks than this commission. We will continue to do all we can to support initiatives, endeavors that will improve the park system. I understand the concerns of this board too, and its costs. And I too think it's definitely hard to swallow, knowing it's $800,000. And I do like the idea of phasing into Commissioner Spriggs' comments, but I also understand that Commissioner Blanton's point about having a plan is important. And I do totally agree that this is a worthwhile investment. And I'm not disputing that, sir, at all. And I don't want you to feel like that. But I don't want you to think that this is an opportunity for us to lose this opportunity.
Yeah,
No.
Mayor, I don't think any of us are saying that we don't want lights at the
No,
field,
yeah.
clearly.
I think what we're going
Can we
to,
use the money that has been allotted for the splash pad and for the lights that were on the budget? Can we roll that over and use it and at least light maybe one, two, the soccer and the softball field? You're putting it off another year
No, that's
that
what,
we
we
don't
can
have.
do that, but that's not what this says right
I'm
here.
making a motion that we do it.
That didn't sound like a motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we roll over the money
We've got to,
that we allotted for.
hold up for just 1 second. We have a motion
Still in discussion.
and a second for this 808,000. Because the
Correct.
mayor was the second.
That's
So we've
correct.
got to get that cleared
Okay.
before we do anything else.
so is there any other discussion at this time regarding this ordinance?
Well, I would just say one other thing. I'd like to see a plan. I mean, I'd like to see what they look like at least. Are they going to be
There are
big?
lights, go
Honking
over
things
to
or-
South Ashland, go over to the dog park and look up. there they
I mean,
are.
this is to the city, Marty. We should have had a picture or
Well,
something. of
listen,
some- All right.
I'm not, I think those are all salient points, and I also concur with Mr. Anderson, the point about destination tourism, including sports.
Yeah,
I think it's a
agreed.
critical component
It
here.
is.
And this is the only way that we can do this is by having our ball fields lit. And I trust that this plan that's being put together for our park system will take community comments like Mr. Anderson's very seriously, because obviously those folks in the community should be a part of the discussion and development of this plan. You know, these ideas that come before us and that are in this budget are not because we think they're great. It's because that bell has been rung to this commission and previous commissions for over 30-plus years. Things that we have done in the park system, while expensive, have been very worthwhile.
Agreed.
And I think we can continue to do so. And I just ask for Commissioner Goot's patience on this as we try to get the commission all on the same page, because I think we want to do this in unison together, and I don't think anybody here, based on the comments I heard, want anything less than fiscal discipline and the best return on investment for our citizens. And I think we can, excuse the phrase, find a way forward to do that. But it's not going to be an issue, I think, in the long run here. I think it's just our commission's asking for more time for planning, preparation, and hopefully for better cost. And I think that's where we are. Everybody feel okay with that, Commissioner Goot?
Maybe we can even get a grant to finish the rest of it if we,
Sure.
Yeah, so,
We're
yeah.
talking,
Let's-
well,
let's vote
I'm
on
not,
this.
I'm not gonna beat it again. I know,
Well, Commissioner Goot, your impassioned speech was very, very moving to me, especially, and I think to this board and to people out in the audience. We all know those fields are important, and but I, as the mayor, we have to work in plurality of the commission, and it seems that we have a little bit more work to do before we bring this before the board. And I'm sorry to you, sir, for that, but it's how this works, and I'm sorry. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
I was in favor.
gotcha.
Kind of speechless right there, but I was in favor.
Yeah. All right,
What about my motion?
now you can,
Yeah, you can.
you can bring a motion.
Can I make a motion that we use the money that we were gonna use for the splash pad that we're looking for a grant for, the $350,000 or whatever it is, plus the $150,000 that we had on the budget that we passed in July, and use it for lights, at least for maybe 2 fields at AK, because the longer you put this off, we're down the road another year. We're down the road another year. I don't even know if we're gonna, if we pass it today, that'd be up for the season. Tryouts are next month. And so you're putting off another year. So I would like to make a motion that we at least use that money to light up at least how many fields we can get out of it.
Do we have a motion on the floor? Is there,
That's not a motion.
That's-
You
that's
can't
a-
say how many,
yeah.
what is that?
I make
the
a motion that
motion.
we roll over the money on, for the, that
It
we
was
had
earmarked for the
in the
splash
budget.
pad.
The recreation budget, we roll over that money for whatever lights that we can put in.
or just maybe for
It was
lighting?
bid in sections.
It was bid in sections, Commissioner, so that's correct. And I believe they were the lowest, each were the lowest bid,
They were.
okay? So the totality was the lowest bid, but each individual one was also the lowest bid. So I think you need to be specific with your motion and specifically state which bids that you're proposing are awarded, if that makes sense.
Or
Like,
just ask that it be rolled over to lighting for the budget? And it can
Well,
be
you've gotta-
addressed by the commission at a later date,
You-
correct?
I mean, that is an option, sure, certainly
Yeah,
as
I
well.
think we should do it that way, that we pick the fields.
Because at this point,
Soccer.
there's too much, in my opinion, Commissioner Goot, there's too many variables on the price we would have to iron that out right this second, and I don't know that we could do all that. But I think to your point, if the motion, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but if you held the motion to roll the money over for lighting,
Okay. I make a motion, we roll the money over for lighting for AK. The lowest
All right,
bid.
I'll second
okay, we do have a second. All in favor?
Can we have discussion?
Oh, I'm
Can we
sorry,
discuss?
sorry.
So-
I'm confused about what we would be agreeing to with that motion.
Well, it's just holding the money to where it was, like with the splash pad being approved for the budget, we're just.
All we're saying is we're okay with taking $350,000 and putting it into this lighting budget. We're not agreeing to this.
Correct. There's no, would that be how you would interpret it, counsel?
I think it needs to be very clear what the motion is
That's
for.
why I'm
And
like,
and I'm not completely clear on it
Okay.
either. I'll be honest with you.
Can I make an attempt at your motion?
Yeah,
Commissioner?
make an attempt.
I think the motion is to roll $350,000 from the splash pad budget to join the $150,000 to be earmarked specifically in the future for lighting.
it. Was that splash pad budget 350?
Yes, we have to do a budget ordinance to change the budget.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Which would be to Commissioner Clark's point, to make sure it's for what it's specifically for.
And was it 350
350, and there's 150 that was.
for the, okay, yeah.
And there's also money budgeted for Dawson that we might not get finished this year also.
Now we muddied even more.
Yeah, not part of this
Yeah,
conversation, I
we'll
think.
talk about that
So
later.
do you want to, any more clarity on that, or does that mean as far as,
Are we gonna let the parks do a strategic plan or not?
The strategic plan is going to be done by March.
so the strategic plan will be done by
Listen,
March?
we're working out a compromise here, it's good stuff, but
I understood this was a 90-day thing to see where we were. And you're in what days, Sean?
About 60, I think. But
What's a 90-day thing? What?
The strategic plan's due in 90 days.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
ready on or before March 1st.
Okay.
So that's
And what
pretty-
what does it entail?
It is, actually, it's very similar to what we were at our training for last week in the
Oh,
Highlands.
God.
We have,
Okay.
strategic priorities that are being broken down.
You asked for it. You asked for it.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, well, the commission asked me to do it, so if we have a meeting, great, but I can share it all at the same time as well. And I think the commission, at one of these meetings, asked me to present it.
Because we kicked that splash pad down the road.
Well, I think we ought to go ahead and say we're
Well-
going to put this in a lighting budget.
So that's, but there's a good point here, because we have a Citizen Parks Board, right? And I know that there's a separate issue here that is important, because there's the neighbors and all that, and that was vetted. As I understood, there was some
Yeah.
discussion with the neighbors, all of that. Obviously, the bid and the amount of money, that was different from what the Parks Board originally looked at. But this strategic plan, just like what we did a year or two ago, needs to be looked at by that board as well, if we've got them in place. And if we're gonna give him a chance at a strategic plan, $800,000 is a big part of that, or whatever we roll, or whatever we want that to be. So are we gonna dictate it ourselves, or are we gonna let them dictate it, what we're saying? Which one are we gonna do?
We have the final say. And
Then just tell, don't waste our time then.
Well, no, Commissioner.
Well, who does?
Commissioner, I think what we're doing here is we're going to continue to let the process play out as requested by this board previously, which is what we wanted, which was this strategic plan with support from the staff, to your point, and to the park board, and to the citizens that support these endeavors. We have to hear from all of them. I hope that's part of how this process for the strategic plan has worked for the park system, because that's critical. So, Commissioner, we did have, I think, your request for a motion on the floor. Was it specific enough? Did we ever get clarity?
I think so, but I just have
Sure.
a request in this process, because I don't think I'm still comfortable voting yes to roll money and the whole thing. I would like to see, I would like to know the cost of getting the path lit.
Yes, the that's important.
I think that's an important part of this conversation. So that's
So-
just my request in all of this.
So I think
Live over
that's a
there.
challenge then to the park board and to the park staff for the strategic plan on that. Because obviously, if that's a request of the commission, then I would expect that answer would be available in the plan.
We'll have to bid that. I mean, we need to bid that out, so.
Yeah, a lot of people I know walk over there, and it's not, they don't feel safe
I don't even know
because
what's
it's not
happening.
lit, so.
Okay?
So,
So where are
we
we?
just need to let this die.
That may be the best thing, is you've had discussion on those items, and there's a lot of variables that sound like are in play.
Yeah,
so-
we do have a lot of variables, Commissioner Goode, on this. So at this point, we have a motion, though. Do we have a second?
Commissioner
I
Spriggs
did.
seconded the motion.
Second, we had discussion. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
moving forward.
Item I, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit an application to FEMA for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $350,000 for the purchase of a 4x4 brush truck, attack truck for the Ashland Fire Department, and if awarded, authorizing a 10% by the City of Ashland and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any and all documents related to said grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item J, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a ticket reseller agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Flixbus, Inc., designating the City of Ashland as its non-exclusive agent, allowing the City of Ashland to sell bus tickets at the Ashland Transportation Center.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item K, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Boyd County Sanitary Landfill, Inc., Rumpke, for a suitable landfill location for the receipt and disposal of a compacted garbage and refuse, rubble, and rubbish collected by the City of Ashland for a period of 1 year in an amount not to exceed $19.74 per ton for the Department of Public Services Division of Sanitation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item L, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, a municipal order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a donation agreement regarding acceptance by the City of Ashland of a donation of a concrete block building located at Oliverio Park, formerly Cliffside Park, by the Ashland American Little League.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Hallelujah.
Question. Do we have a plan in place concerning the concession stand there? Are we going to be operating the concession stand, leasing that to Ashland American?
I'm
What's
assuming
the-
that's a part of the strategic plan for the park board. Is that the case?
Now, actually, if I could interject on this, the league will compete for that like they would a special events request to operate in there like we would another function, any other function in the park. So I believe Mr. Murray's getting some other cost estimates on getting the facility up to snuff, and then that will be coordinated through the SEC process.
Would
Is
that
there
be a
anything to add?
seasonal bid? I'm sorry. Would that be a seasonal bid for
It could be.
this? Or we don't want it by the weekend or something. but it
Right.
would-
So I guess my question is there any cost to the league to do that, to use that building?
Mr. Murray?
Not this time, there's not. Still, I think we got the application and it's not complete just this morning back from last American League.
Uh-huh.
So you have to get more details to see what they're asking, what actually we need to do.
Well, are we going to lease it to them to use, or
No, well,
what's
so
the plan?
the concept is, go ahead,
They're just
Mr.
going to
Murray.
use it like a special event, use a space
Yeah.
for a special event and run their concession stand out of there is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
So it's very similar to the rest of the city, and how we do our applications for a special event. If they ask a location, if they ask, particular spot, or they have to have particular licenses, the SEC would look at it in this case, since it's just internal at the Parks and Rec situation.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't typically make it to the Board of Commissions unless, obviously, you say, hey, this is the kind of stuff we want to look at.
Yeah. I guess my fear in all of it is once it's back to being our building and they're in it, what's our liability in
That's typically dealt with through the events, process.
So they'll have
with-
their insurance and all that.
I think that typically insurance is required and there's liability
Yeah.
waivers and
Okay.
indemnification agreements. those types.
If they lease the building, does that mean that they are in charge of keeping the restrooms clean?
No, we are.
Hours of
No, that's, yeah.
operation of the games, they may be
They are during the games.
during the games. However, the rest of the maintenance is going to fall to Parks and Rec at that point.
Well, because we got a playground going up there,
Right.
coming up in the spring, correct?
That one, I think is scheduled for the fall for installation.
How much
For the
is that
fall?
playground?
So we need those restrooms.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Do we know the renovation cost, the one-time, it says one-time renovation costs?
I can give you an idea of what we're renovating. We met with one HVAC company, which it does not have right now. Earlier this week, we're looking at the second one today. We met with one contractor, plumbing contractor, we're meeting with the second one. So right now, we're still working on
HVAC
finding out what
and
needs to be upgraded the way we thought we should do it. I can give you an idea of what we're looking at, Commissioner, because we're trying to go a little bit more automated, whether it be the hand dryers, the soap, or the clothes themselves, to help us with some of those maintenance issues that have happened in the past, with the addition of the security and the cameras that are going up as well. Doesn't answer your question, but we're working.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item M, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a highway safety grant application between the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Office of Highway Safety for the Ashland Police Department, and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any and all other documents related to said grant."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item N, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a letter of support to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet regarding the Winchester Avenue Improvements and Streetscaping Project."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Item O, appointment. The mayor requests your concurrence on the appointment of Michelle Webb to the Ashland Park Board to fulfill the unexpired term of Stu Taylor, which expires on October 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in
This
favor?
is a great addition.
Yeah.
She's a champion for special needs children. She was overjoyed when her child got to play on the inclusive playground for the very first time. And you couldn't have found a better person to fill this seat.
Great. All right. We did vote no or yes?
I don't think we voted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Trying to keep you straight down
Thank
here.
you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. All right, I've got a